Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord, specifically the Napoleonic Warfare conversion mod, and we're going to be doing another uniform video. So today it's for what is probably best considered a minor faction. So we are going to be looking at the Italian uniforms, which you should probably be able to guess from the title and thumbnail of this video. But with all that being said, I wasn't originally going to do this because the Italians aren't a faction of their own. They're actually just a part of the French faction. So the French is the empire, and for some reason they made the entire empire, all three different kingdoms of the empire, they turned it into France instead of doing like one of the empires is one of the empire factions is France, one as Spain, and one is Italy or something like that, which I think would have made a lot more sense and also would make it so every single playthrough doesn't just end up with France absolutely dominating everyone on the battlefield because they're way too overpowered to start with. But whatever the case is, I wasn't initially going to do the Italian ones because there just are not that many Italian pieces of clothing or troops or anything like that in the game, but I was able to come up with 7 distinct Italian uniforms, so I figured I'd show them to you here today. Just like always, keep in mind with these ones, since they are a minor faction, they will be using some non-Italian pieces, but whenever it's something like that, it will just be using a French one because they are part of the France faction. So let's just dive on in and start off with the first Italian uniform. And so here you can see we have our first Italian uniform, and that is the Italian recruit. So it's a very basic uniform, obviously definitely nothing flashy here, so you can see it's almost entirely white. There's a little bit of some green accents on the coat, and I actually think the Italian coats look pretty good. Like, they don't have a whole lot going on, but stylistically and texture-wise, they look like good coats. So that's one of the nice things that the Italian uniforms have going for them. And then we have, you know, kind of off-white pants and everything, and a tricorn hat. So it's got a basic appearance to it, but I think honestly it looks pretty decent. So this one is made up of the tricorn, the infantry bandolier, the Italian infantry uniform, and it is the specific, because there are several different ones called the Italian infantry uniform. It is specifically the all-white one with the light green accents. Then we have the officer's wool gloves and the French infantry gaiters. So you can see there aren't any Italian pants/boots in this game, at least not at the moment of recording this video, so whenever we're doing that, it's going to be French, but like I said, they are a minor part of the French faction. So definitely a decent looking uniform, probably one of the best ones as far as just overall fanciness goes for a recruit uniform, considering it's your most basic troop. But that being said, like I said, not bad at all. So that is the Italian recruit. Our next uniform is going to be for the Italian line infantry. So these are your basic infantry unit above the recruits, obviously. A lot of these are going to show up in battlefields, even if you're just playing as the French and you just are recruiting willy-nilly from French towns, you will end up with quite a few Italian infantry, and this is what the vast majority of them are going to look like. And honestly, like I said with the last one, it doesn't stand out a lot because it's mostly just white. You can see we have these little red accents and everything, but the rest of it is just a very white uniform. But honestly, it looks good. It's not a bad looking uniform. And it's made up of the Italian infantry shako, the French equipment, the Italian infantry uniform, and again we're specifically looking at the variant that has all white with just the light red accent lines and the red collar, not to be confused with any of the other Italian infantry uniform. Then we have the officer's white gloves and the French infantry boots. So it's not perfect because again there's one piece of, well, 2 pieces because we have the French equipment and the French infantry boots, so it's not all Italian, but honestly it looks pretty good, and this is what they wear. So this one comes straight from a unit in the game, and I think it looks decent. So that is the Italian line infantry. Next up we have the Italian Guard, specifically the Milan Guard. So this one is a distinctive unit, and I actually really like this one. So playing as the French, I had for a while there a large division of my infantry that I was going into battle with were made up of nothing but Milan Guards, and they actually look really cool because of that light blue jacket. It's very distinctive and stands out against every other uniform in the game because there's nothing quite like it. So that's fun. This uniform is made up of the Italian infantry shako, the French equipment, the Italian Guard uniform, the officer's gloves white, and the French infantry boots. So similar to our line one, except we're using that Italian Guard uniform, and because of that, we obviously have a lot more color going on. So the primary color on this one is that light sky blue, or whatever you want to call that, and then we have those red accents like the line infantry uniform that we looked at. So this is the Guard, so it's the top tier Italian infantry troop, and like I said, I think it actually looks pretty dang good. Nothing really big to complain about. This whole uniform looks pretty awesome. So that is the Italian Guard for Milan. Let's move on to the next uniform. Next up we have the Italian Voltigeur. So this is a pretty decent one. It might be my favorite for the Italian uniforms, kind of hard to say, but I do like the green accents and I do like the epaulets and tassels. I think it looks relatively fancy, at least certainly fancier than a lot of the other ones we've looked at so far. So this is made up of the Italian Voltigare shako, the French equipment, the Italian Voltigare uniform, the officer gloves white, and the French infantry boots. So on the whole, pretty dang cool. Like I said, I love the green accents. I would have probably liked it more if instead of the red lines along the collar and down the rest, those would have also been green. And of course, I would not have thrown a fit if it was a darker green, just because I think that would look better. But on the whole, it's a pretty good looking uniform. I like how the shako has a couple accents on it that match the uniform, and just overall looks really well balanced. So big fan of this one. Probably my favorite of the Italian uniforms. Hard to say. Maybe we'll touch back on that by the time we get to the end of this, but that is the Italian Voltigare. Our next uniform is the Italian Guard officer. So this is a officer variant of the Milan Guard. Looks pretty simple. It's a very similar uniform to the Italian Guard one, just a couple different pieces for this one. It's made up of the officer bicorn, the cavalry bandolier, the Italian Guard uniform, the officer's white gloves, and the French infantry boots. So like I said, very similar to the standard enlisted Italian Guard uniform. Instead of using the shako, we have that bicorn. Instead of using the equipment, we have the cavalry bandolier, but other than that, it's the same. And so this one looks pretty dope if you're playing as an Italian character and you want your person to look slightly more important or whatever. I think this is definitely a good way to go. And considering that the Milan Italian Guard uniform is the most distinctive piece of Italian clothing in the entire game, I think it makes sense to go this way. So that is the Italian Guard officer. Let's move on to the next uniform. All right, for our next one, we have the Italian Hussar. So it's definitely less distinctive than most of the Hussar units in the game, but still looks pretty good. So if you want your character to be a cavalry-specific Hussar troop or whatever, this is one way to go. So this uniform is made up of the Italian Voltigare shako, the French Hussar equipment, the Italian infantry uniform, and this time it's the variant that has the all-white sleeves with the little green cuff accents and the big red lapels and collar. It has the most color and is the most distinctive, so it makes sense to go with that. Plus it helps match the color accents on the French Hussar equipment. Then we have the officer's white gloves and the French infantry gaiters, so no cavalry pants here. On the whole, I think looks pretty good. It's another one of my favorites up there with the Italian Guard officer. It just looks pretty good, I think, on the whole. So not as cool as most of the other Hussar units in the game, but still pretty cool. So that's the Italian Hussar. All right, and for our final uniform that we're looking at today, we have the Italian Voltigare officer. So this is just the officer variant of the Voltigare uniform. So this one is very, very similar. You can see once again, it's basically just switching out those two same parts, or I guess in this case three because the gloves are different. But this one is made up of the officer's bicorn, the cavalry bandolier, the Italian Voltigare uniform, the officer's gloves black, and the French infantry boots. So like I said, just an officer variant of the Voltigare uniform. Instead of wearing the shako, we have that officer's bicorn, and everything else is just a little bit more officer themed. So quite good. Like I said, only Italian one to have the nice well-defined epaulets and tassels on the shoulders, which definitely makes the uniform look a little bit more better put together. But overall, I like it. I love the green accents. I don't even hate the way that the bicorn looks on this one, and oftentimes I'm not a fan of that. So that is the 7th and final Italian uniform. I'm hoping at some point maybe they'll introduce some more into the game as they decide what they want to do with the Italian faction. If they want to just keep it being part of France, I guess it makes sense, even though it's not the way I would take it. I would just either make it a minor, maybe a mercenary faction, or I could, see reasonably just making it a small faction of its own. But that being said, looks pretty dope. I think all 7 of these are decent. So that's all for today. That's all the Italian uniforms in the Napoleonic Warfare mod for Mount & Blade Bannerlord 2. Hope you enjoyed this video, but we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.